I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. This can be interactive. I've had several people ask me for the recording, so I know that this is a topic that a lot of folks are interested in terms of getting their plan in order. So let me know, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, or yes in the chat if you can see my screen. Awesome. Okay, so this is going to be, it says MSP. It's perfect for anyone in telecom or IT services. It's mapping out our year. There's a marketing component, of course, because that's what I know most, but there's also just a business component. And we're going to be talking about some operational things, some product things, some sales things. So at any point in time, if you have a question, just drop it in the chat or just say, hey, I have a question. This will be interactive. I've got a really cool tool that we're going to drop in the chat in a minute that you can use to think about as you plan your year and what's realistic in terms of numbers. But by the end of this hour, you're actually going to know, okay, what do I need to hit in revenue this year? Realistically, what's realistic? And then also, how many new clients and new leads does this actually mean? Am I doing enough on the marketing front to be able to hit those, or do I need to add different things, elements, sales team members, whatever, to be able to hit those? And then we're also going to talk about which parts of your marketing or sales engine or operational things need to be upgraded or thought about in 2026. Before we get started, I do always put this slide up, and it's important. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk about the ground rules in just a second. Number one is be here now. Just put on that participant hat. Type the word participant in the chat if you're willing to just be a participant for a few minutes today. Even though some of this you might say, Laura, I already know all this. Show me participant in the chat if you're willing to participate today. A lot of times we listen to things and we're like, hey, I already know all about this. Some of us may be experts, some of us may not be. So let's just participate today. Put your phones on silent, give this your 100% focus, and shut out any distractions so that we can make the most of our time. Today, we're going to walk through the workbook that's going to help you get clear on what your business needs to focus on in 2026. We're going to cover things that come straight from the work we do with our clients, but also things that we don't do but are really important. So my goal is for you to walk away knowing exactly what deserves your attention and your focus this year. Okay? And I don't know if y'all have noticed, but if you go through a whole year by winging it, whether you're a marketing leader or a CEO, winging it does not always get you the results that you want. You can't get to where you've never been by doing things you've always done, right? So buyers are paying attention differently. These are some trends that we're seeing in this space. They're more distracted than ever. Okay. The competition is louder. Some of our services are a commodity in their eyes. And honestly, the companies that are the most clear and consistent are the ones that are pulling ahead. So your buyer is already overwhelmed, and you need to focus on how to communicate that you solve the problems that are making them feel overwhelmed. And that's our goal and what we're seeing. And this is a year where you need alignment across your leadership, your ops, your sales processes, and your marketing. All of that, when it works together, but growth can become a lot more predictable. So this workbook right here, I'm telling you, this is a workshop. It's not just a webinar. It's interactive. Anna's going to put the workbook link in our chat. This is for you to take home, take with you. If you want to take this and make it an exercise with your team, you can certainly do that. All I ask is please make a copy. You shouldn't be able to do anything to this version, but let me know if you have any trouble. Go ahead and make your copy and name it whatever you want to name it. That will make you remember. And you could go ahead and just put it in your 2026 planning folder if you have one of those, your drive, whatever that is that you do internally. This workbook is going to be step by step what we talk about on this workshop. I'm actually going to give you time to work through it. So it's not like something you've got to just take home. And so we're going to dial in what's really achievable, get your numbers mapped out. I think that's the number one thing that we might miss, is that we plan our whole year without really thinking through the reality of the numbers. So as we get started, we really need to know our numbers and back into our numbers with one of my favorite tools is our calculator tool that we created, that both internally and with our clients we're able to use to help plan the year. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, make sure all of us can see. Let's see my screen. Okay. So you can find this at calculator.thebusinessgrowers.com, but this allows you to go ahead with where we are today and put in our current annual revenue, what our target annual recurring revenue is, our average monthly recurring revenue per customer, contract term length, just so we have it logged, and then also our current monthly churn rate. Don't forget that, because you want to make sure you're outpacing on sales what you're churning, of course. And then you'll see here, you can drop in your average close rate. If you're a founder or owner, it's probably going to be a little bit higher than somebody else in sales, but unless you're not gifted in sales, but this allows you to understand, okay, if I have this many true opportunities in my close ratio, I close 3 out of 10, whatever that number is, then I'm able to back into my numbers that way. You can change these settings if you feel like your conversion rates are different than what's listed here. I just put some industry benchmarks, but the reason, if you look here, why do I need 28, 29 sales opportunities for 2 customers needed? Remember, we're not talking about booked meetings in terms of sales qualified leads. We're talking about, we know that we got to chase our customers down, right? Or prospects down. So marketing qualified leads, sales qualified leads is that 28, 29 number, but true opportunities that move into a proposal, meeting, proposal, etc., really only comes down to 2 out of that total number. So this just helps you get more realistic about what that monthly funnel breakdown is going to be, and then how much lifetime value you can create. You also can take this and go into my budget planner here and understand what it's going to take in terms of your budget and the breakdown based on how aggressive you want to be, how mature you are, how much you're ready to spend in terms of growth, so that you can tell your team members, hey, here's what to hit the goals that we want. Here's what's required. Really useful tool, and make sure that you just take a little bit of time to back into those numbers as a very baseline as you're planning out your 2026. But putting this data in this sheet, and maybe since the calculator's wonky, putting it in here is good. Just how much money do we have today on a recurring basis? Where do we want to be? And then on average, and what I like to say is, like, for however, we can't assume that if I'm a 35% close rate, that means 3 out of every 10, then we know we need, let's just say we want 3 to 4 closes a month. We have to have 10 people who are ready to buy, not just 10 people total, right? That's the whole point of that first part of that practice, is that it's not like we just have to have 10 people that might be the right customer. It means we have to have 10 people who have already gone through the buyer journey long enough to know they've seen you, they have a need, and they are actually ready to buy. There's a big difference between a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead. Does that make sense to everybody? Yep. And I wish I could just real quickly make that change on that calculator to make sure it's correct. So I apologize about that. It worked fine on December, so I don't know what I did between December and now. But anyway, putting all this in, knowing what your targets are, the lead requirement, I'll get this calculator fixed, send it out to everybody so you know what your lead requirement is. More than likely, you're going to look at a 4x multiple of how many sales qualified leads you need. So you're probably looking, if I know I need 40 to 50 sales qualified leads, then you're looking at a 4x of that as how many people you actually need active and engaged in your pipeline. Any questions on that? All right. Now we're going to go to your market position. This is where we're going to get clarity on things like, who do I serve the best? What can I do better than anyone else? What's my unique process? All these things that make you unique, because as we know, our competition in the eyes of our customer and the people that do what we do, we might say we do it so special. We treat every customer like they are family, but that's a retention strategy. That's not a sales strategy. So make sure we're clear on that, that the way that you treat your customer is not something that you can sell with. You really have to understand what makes you different. What's our unique value proposition? So go ahead and jot down here what verticals or industries you serve the best. It could be that it's not just healthcare. Maybe it's a specific compliance niche that you serve. Or so make sure any of these that you've considered, or even feel free to add. But you see here, there's lots of different ways. We don't have to just specialize in a vertical. We can specialize in a lot of different things. So go ahead and check the box if there are some things that you feel like, hey, this is me. I'm giving us a few minutes to do that. And you actually can take, we're not going to do this on this call, but you can take all of these things and use like an AI tool, or even just a brainstorming session with your team, and then answer these questions in one sentence using this data down here. That becomes your unique value proposition. Hey, we do this way for these people. That's basically, how you can explain what makes you unique, and helps your team get really dialed in on who it is you serve. And then this is something you might have to do offline, but do you know off the top of your head who brings in the most profit with the least effort? We did this exercise here at the Business Growers, looked at the entire year of 2025, and really tried to understand who our best customer was: industry, size, multi-campus, whatever that is. What type of client brings you the most profit with least effort? You should definitely know that. And then understanding ICP means ideal customer profile. So understanding who is making the decision when you sell your service to this type of business. Is it the actual business owner, or is it the administrative assistant, or is it who's actually making the decision? Who's most important decision maker here? And then go and fill in just everything you know about that decision maker to make sure. Doesn't hurt to also use the space to add in influencers who's influencing this decision. But in your messaging and understanding of what your sales team, as you're building your sales team, what they need to be saying and doing, it's really important to understand exactly who that buyer is. Give you a few minutes to do that. We'll do like 1 minute to fill in that ICP. Everything you know about them. What keeps them up at night? And now we will take just a minute. I'm going to do a few more seconds on that. This section 3 tends to be really helpful for those leaders who might create new products or services based on kind of one-off needs of clients. And so this is a good opportunity to list your current services out, and then think about the 3.2, like, where are they asking for more? What did we maybe create? This what is inefficient internally is like, what did we maybe create a one-off for somebody that's really not very efficient for our team? What's not profitable? And again, a lot of this you might need to export your financial data. But before you start planning out your whole 2026, you need to know these things. We need to stop long enough to think about what's not profitable. What are we not charging enough for? What services do I have today that just are good services? They're profitable, they need a better process, or maybe they're not profitable because we don't have a good process. Start to do a little internal ops audit. What services do you need to drop? What should you add? What could be a premium? What are you doing that you're not, like I said, not charging enough for? Take just a minute and fill this out. You don't know. I think it'd be good to put a big red question mark too. Like, I don't know what's most profitable for us. I don't know these things. I need to know these things. We get so head down sometimes. Sometimes we don't think about it and then we don't, or ask the person on your team that can go figure these things out. It's a good exercise. And then think about this back of napkin, just what are 3 to 5 internal things that you know for a fact you need to focus on in 2026? Hey, I know that this product is end of life. I know that this product is sucking the wind out of us. Or maybe nothing is. And if that's the case, that's great. Once we get that done, we're going to move to marketing. And this is where we'll just go in and put an X. If you don't know, put a question mark, but put an X by the things that you know you're already doing. And if you don't put an X there, because this is how we score ourselves and then get really clear on what we need to be doing next year in terms of marketing effort. So go ahead and put X's next to the things or question marks if you're not sure. If you work with us, you can ask your account manager. Are y'all doing this? This is what I consider foundational. The foundational marketing things you got to have. And then your authority section is when you graduate from that baseline foundational point of having some of your ducks in a row on a marketing front to really start building more authority in your industry or in your vertical. And this authority section is where you can go drop some X's or question marks if you don't know here. And some of these require an agency, some of them require an internal team member. They're all good things to do. Okay. And this is when you are to the point where you have very steady authority building activity, foundation built. And this is really when you start that full skill, full lead gen, and you're doing things like paid ads, webinars, workshops, outbound, cold calling type things. So put an X there because it's okay if you don't have X's there. It's just here are all the things that as you're scaling, as you're growing, that need to be part of your marketing mix. I love on each of those 3, when you get finished with each 3 sections, just score yourself. Number of X's. If you don't know, question marks don't count as an X. It's okay. This kind of tells you where you are. Hey, we're just getting started based on your numbers. We're growing, not totally consistent, doing some things right, don't have a full-blown system. And then 21 to 30 is on your path to scale. So that just tells you where you are today. I'd love for you to keep this book, do it again in a year and see if you've changed. Anybody need more time? Are y'all good? You want to keep going or stop for a second? Questions? Any questions? Okay. Also conversation. We certainly have time. And then this is actually important and something that we miss a good bit, I believe, is what do we already have? What business do we already have that we can expand upon? And having a dedicated person or resource internally to start thinking about things like quarterly reviews with those clients that you know have opportunities. This would require you to be able to tag your customer base appropriately so you know what products they don't and do have in a CRM, let's say. But expansion marketing, doing upsell campaigns to your current customers, building a system for your customers and your employees to refer you business, creating some sort of process for that, making sure that you have some sort of client satisfaction loop where if we know someone's extremely satisfied, that we're moving into asking them for a referral or a testimony or a case study or something like that. When we get the customer, we get kind of lazy with continuing to pursue the customer, I think. And so this is a really good checklist of like, hey, are we doing any of this? Are we expanding? Do we have a dedicated person that's solely focused on upsells? Are we sending them information about ways that they could, get more value out of their current services? Here's how you can use your products and services more resourcefully. Do we have a system in place to prevent churn? Are we doing constant, consistent upsell product campaigns? So those are some ideas, but you can go ahead and jot down here using some of these items. What are some areas where you feel like you could do a better job in 2026 in terms of current client expansion? And if you only sell one product, then maybe you can't. But and then we move into field marketing. These are the areas that no marketing agency can help you with. This is what I call field marketing. Now, we can certainly support our clients in their events and things like that, but this is boots on the ground, making sure that you're attending events where those people that you identified in that very first part of this workshop are, making sure that you're looking at local associations, partner ecosystems, speaking opportunities if you're comfortable doing that. Very important to educate and speak. Strategic partnerships, continuing education. Is there a need that you and your own skill and knowledge can teach or train in a room full of people who might buy from you? Start looking for those opportunities. Trade groups, mastermind groups, any sort of relationship-based selling in groups that you already fall into that makes sense. And so I'm kind of gonna go back through this. Knowing your product, knowing what you can upsell, knowing where you score and where you are today from a marketing standpoint. I'm just going back through all of these. What gaps and opportunities do we have in product? Because these gaps and opportunities can turn into marketing campaigns too. So all of this builds, and then we get into the sales readiness category. This is the most painful for me personally, just for those of you out there. It's starting to measure these things in sales that require attention. How fast am I able to get back with somebody? Do I have a defined qualification process to make sure that I'm not wasting time talking to the wrong people? That's tough. That can be a time suck sometimes because you never know unless you have some sort of, and we've actually in our own business created a form that kind of pre-qualifies now. So before they can get to the booking link, I have to know, are they at this revenue number? How much do they spend, or are they willing to spend? Some of these things that are important for me to know if it's a good use of our time. And you should have those in place too. Should we do a better job in our CRM tracking? We have a source of truth, or do we not? Do we have a standard proposal template? If you need it, you might not need it, but it is good to walk people through that. Do we have an automated quoting process, or is that taking a lot of time? You can't scale these things if this is not set up correctly for you to be able to pass it along to someone else. Do we have a standard discovery call script? I have a set of questions that I cannot close the call without asking, which really, again, helps me qualify folks. Do we have a good way to track who we lose? We just did this exercise. We looked at everyone that we lost and evaluated why we lost them. And then we looked at everybody that we acquired as a new client and evaluated them too. So learning from, are we tracking and do we know why we lost people? That's just as important as winning to me. Understanding why we lost. Better understanding really from the minute that they're on a list of ours from a conference or wherever we go, we know this person might be qualified to close. Do we know what that ratio is? And then are we following up more than 5 times on a single lead? Right now, the stat is 13 to 17 touches in B2B. Ouch. It's a tip that I'm passing on. I'm partnering with someone who we're both going after the same customer. And so we decided to share a pipeline. And each of us are committing to 13 touches this year to 100 people. It's a list of 100. And that a touch might mean I send them a note, comment on their LinkedIn, shoot them a book, maybe send them a book. I've written a book. So maybe I send them that. Maybe I call them. Maybe I email them 13 times in a year. So that means that at least once a month plus some. So are there any things here that we know we can improve upon? Because you want to write those down so that you have a good idea on the sales front. And this kind of fits. Any questions or thoughts on any of that first? We're moving toward the last part of this. So I want to make sure, are there any holes or places that you didn't finish filling out that you need to? Before we move on. And like I said, I will get that calculator fixed and send it to y'all today. So this really falls, Section 8 is kind of a bonus. I probably should have listed it as such because it falls under your marketing strategy. It also falls under of those no growth scale, demand, authority, demand, foundation, Jill, like we were talking about a minute ago. This really falls under that authority building portion. But many of you probably know, because a lot of us are using AI tools to brainstorm, to create content, whatever that may be. But you've probably seen Google now is doing our summaries, our AI summaries. Google now is starting to make recommendations underneath the Google business profile. It's starting to pull data from sources and create a summary about your brand based on what it knows, which can be very concerning or dangerous. This is the year of really understanding and developing a proactive content strategy, which means understanding what these search engines and these AI summaries are pulling from and making sure that we're being proactive in creating content. And it's pulling from more than just Google, right? It's pulling from your social media. It's pulling from YouTube. It's pulling from lots of different places. So in your content strategy, the best way to develop a content strategy based on the way that people are searching in those search engines, specifically AI search engines. And I don't know if many of you noticed this, but the way that you used to Google is a lot different from the way that you go to ChatGPT, right? We Google red shirt, Macy's or whatever, or Nike, Air Jordans, whatever. We go to the search engines and we're asking a question, a full question. Most likely, we're not just typing in 3 words because we're talking to the AI tool and we're not just doing a clean search, which means an SEO strategy from the future, traditional SEO strategy was built on what keywords are we putting on your website. Now we have to create content that's answering the questions that your customers are asking. So if you don't do anything else with this workbook, a good recommendation for your next team meeting is to have everyone in the room list quietly on their own the top 20 questions. And I should change this to say Google/ChatGPT or whatever your preferred source is, but just the top 20 questions your prospects are asking you. Maybe it's not even they're searching for. What are they asking you? What are people, if you record your sales calls, great opportunity here. Go pull sales call recordings, transcripts, if you're using a transcript tool. Pull those sales call recordings and throw all of them into ChatGPT and say, give me, or whatever tool you use, give me the top 20 questions that these people have asked me in the last year. That's what your content strategy becomes. And bonus, if you can get the top 5 to 7 on your homepage of your website. And this up here are the outputs. Like, how do I, is this just blog writing? No, it's not just blog writing anymore. It's lots of things. Some of it your marketing team can do, some of it you can't, but it's social media. It's your own social media posting. It's different ways that we need to be communicating. But this is a fun exercise if you do it with your team, because you can actually have all of them write it down and then start to compare notes and pick your top 12, 15, 20 pieces of titles of what they're asking you from there. And it is interesting. I also suggest, if you have a frontline, your account management or your support, if you transcribe those calls, record those calls, I would also take those calls, especially with anyone you've onboarded this year, and find out what were the questions they asked our support team, or what tickets came in the first 90 days that we didn't answer in sales, because that's a good way to know what people might be asking. A lot of it, in my opinion, probably depends on they're scared of switching over, downtime, things like that. I bet there's a lot in there that you could ease their mind with content. And this just shows you ways that you can answer these questions. Some of them you may be able to do easily. Some of them you might have to think about adding that to your mix this year. But you can check some of these ways that, hey, we know we can do this and this, or we might need to think about how we can do that. And then again, probably a better exercise once you've already done this top 20. But when you do this top 20, the second part of that would be, okay, if we know we can do 3 webinars this year, we can do 1 short, quick video using our phones a month, or whatever you can commit to, then you can go here really easily and craft out what your content's going to be for the year. And maybe your agency's doing some of it. Here's what they're doing. Here's what we're doing. And then there's 2 blocks here, so you can do the rest of the year here. But let's at least go ahead and get the first 6 months planned, and then assign somebody on your team to do it. Maybe it's that installer. Maybe he could do a quick graphic do a quick photo for us, and we can turn it into something cool. And then this is just a way to get clarity. All that's a lot. I know that's a lot. And this is certainly the framework that you can take and do with your team. But this is really right here. The whole point is, what are my revenue goals this year? What are going to be my marketing priorities? And you can go back through this workbook and say, okay, here's what we decided for marketing. Here's what we decided for revenue goals, operational, sales, and then expansion. What can we do with our current customer base? These are the 5 kind of categories that you need to focus on. And then maybe it's just one thing instead of 3. But for the year, it's your top 3. And then you focus on one thing in the next 90 days. And what can we do for revenue this year? What can we do for marketing this quarter? What can we do operationally this quarter? Sales, expansion. Instead of you having to think about all of it, just bite it off in a 90-day increment and get a good 90-day plan in place. But hopefully this is helpful. This is the framework to use. This is what I recommend in terms of making sure that everything's top of mind. I think it's a really great foundation for your team. Not just, you don't have to figure everything on here out. It's really for you to use with your team to determine what your priorities are, and then delegate. So hopefully this can be a useful workbook now and in the future.